All righty. We are here, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode. I'm drinking my water because I already know this is going to be hot. This is another amazing episode of Coach Magic. It's so hot that we had to deal with some tech issues, just getting this thing happening. And that tells me that, and Darci and I were just talking about it, that sometimes resistance comes to really test your commitment. And I know that this message will resonate with you very, very much. I'm thrilled to welcome to the show Darci Williams. She is an incredible coach, retreat leader, and the founder of Wayfinding. I am thrilled to count Darci as one of my incredible clients. Let me tell you a little bit more about her background, and then we're going to get our conversation going. With deep expertise in human resources and corporate strategy, Darci's track record of success spans a variety of industries, including healthcare, insurance, digital marketing, and tech. She's proud to have been shaped by the best and the brightest, having held senior roles at Resource Emirati, IBM iX. Is that what we say, Darci?
Yep, you got it.
Nationwide Insurance and Ohio Health, and she had the distinct experience of leading innovation efforts during the height of the COVID pandemic. That must have been quite an experience. She shifted her focus to her real love and passion and calling of executive coaching and workshops and retreats, and she's just a shining star. That is the best way I can describe Darci, and I'm so excited to have you on the show, Darci, so that my audience and so many more people can know what I know about you, which is you mean business. You have a heart of gold. Welcome to Coach Magic.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I mean, it's such an honor. Of course, both as a client and just a fan of yours, right? I watch your podcast. I listen to all of your stuff. So to be able to be in this seat is, like a little dream come true. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, we're going to have an incredible ride today. All right. So as you know, you are part of our Luminary series, and it has been just a real pleasure to bring on incredible voices and leaders to shine that light in the world. And I know you have a tradition when it comes to luminaries that I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about today.
Yeah, it was so wild. When you started this series, I actually didn't share this with you, but I was like, oh, Luminary. I love that she's doing a whole series about this because luminaries means a lot in my life. My husband and I actually spearhead putting together luminaries for my entire neighborhood Christmas time every year. And it is an effort. It requires 800 bags to line all of our streets. But, I love it so much because it's about community, right? It's about bringing people together. And then, of course, the joke in our neighborhood is it's about lighting the way for, Santa or, the Christ child and all of these things. And like you just said, I think that's so much of what we do is about shining our light into this world so that we can help others find their way. So when you asked me to be a part of it, I was like, she doesn't even know like what a precious spot in my heart she just touched with this invitation. So again, thank you.
Synchronicities all around for sure. And that piece that you just shared, helping to light the way for others, I feel that is a connective thread that certainly describes the kind of speakers who have joined me, the kind of guests who've joined me on Coach Magic, but also the audience, everyone who's tuning in. There's a reason why you're called to listen to this show, Coach Magic. There's something around magic that you identify with. There's something around the word coach. We have a lot of coaches in our community. All right. And that's what we do. We light the way for others. Because we are living in really interesting times. It can feel very dark. This is not the first time society, the world, the planet has gone through challenging moments in history. And it makes me feel like this work that we do is more important now than it's ever been because things feel really intense and really heavy. Is that something that you're feeling in your world that you are helping to work with clients on? I mean, I was in a session yesterday and this stuff was coming up a lot. Yeah. And so it's very specific. It's very tangible how it impacts people in their businesses and at home and in families and travel and all the things. So I'm just curious what you're seeing there, Darci.
Yeah, it's so funny, this moment that we're in life. And like you said, it's, there's been other moments over the course of our lifetime. And there will be more as we come ahead. But what it has reminded me of is the importance of when you do this work, right? Like you and I and the audience does, you have to do this work to do this work. And what I mean by that is, man, this has been an opportunity in my own life to really go inward, to figure out, like, what am I feeling? What's the angst that I'm feeling? What's that trying to tell me? What can I learn about my values through this moment? And then how can I walk in my values through this moment? How can I lead the way? How can I model the way? Right? If something that I'm experiencing, and maybe it's in this greater societal moment that we're in, or even just something in my personal life, if something is causing me angst, I try to take a step back and say, okay, well, what is that's being rubbed up against? And so, let's just take, for example, if it's, man, I don't feel like I'm seeing people being included right now, or I don't feel like what I'm seeing right now feels kind, right? That's, again, a clue to me, like, okay, because I value kindness. And so if I value kindness, what does it look like for me right now to walk in kindness through this moment, to model kindness in this moment of whatever the conflict is around me? So that's the work I've been doing. And again, hopefully in so doing, just by walking it out, that's the ripples that I'm putting into this world. But that's what I come back to every time with my coachees too, is to help them to go through that same sequence of events, and then, kind of go forward, move forward, model the way in their own kind of way.
Which ties in so beautifully to your brand, your company, Wayfinding. Before you created that company, you were working inside of other companies. We mentioned that when I was introducing you. And so that piece around values, though, that's where I want to go in here, because it's so critical. I remember when I went through coach training eons ago, when I was just having left my corporate life, not knowing exactly that I was going to be sitting where I'm sitting 17 years later doing what I do. But that piece around values that we uncovered in that coaching world, that I at that point said, why weren't we taught this stuff earlier? It would have been good to really look at this in school, and the other pieces that I was learning and having to study, like, didn't really matter so much. But that's why I do what I do now. And I'm just curious for you with the values piece, how is that playing a role before you became a business owner? Like, you had really big jobs, you were working with interesting people, big projects. Was it a values thing that was kicking up for you, where you recognized it was time to move forward? It was time to try something different. It was time to really walk a new road. Like, what caused you to say, I'm making a change, I'm becoming a coach, I'm starting this company called Wayfinding?
Yeah. Oh, man. And gosh, what a leap of faith all of that was and continues to be. To answer your question, yeah, so I spent about 20 years in corporate America in these different roles in HR, and I loved my career. I really did. And I do feel like I was shaped by the best and brightest. With 10 years at this very cool digital advertising agency in Columbus that was just seeped in culture and just a masterclass in innovation and leadership, and then went to Nationwide. And I made that move because I wanted to better understand the science and rigor behind HR, which of course was kind of my practice. That was my craft. And then ultimately felt this calling into healthcare, which brought me to Ohio Health right before the pandemic, which was some of the most purpose-fueled work that I've ever done in my career. And what it was for me is, being in HR, I don't know, everybody kind of picks on the HR people. I guess if anybody in this audience is doing HR, like, I give you a little hug, right? Pat on the back. If you know somebody who's in HR, tell them thank you. It's a pretty thankless job. But you get this like rap for being the policy police. And it always just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I was more about really trying to figure out this person that I was working with, this leader that I was working with, where are they trying to go? And see the world through their eyes, so that I could understand and empathize with it. and then figuring out like, how can we get creative to get them there? Which sometimes meant, kind of getting creative with some of those rules. And so it was a little bit of that, I think, that was kind of rubbing up against me, just around creativity, innovation, agency, those sorts of things versus, some of the more rigor and rules that can come with HR. So I was kind of pushing up against that. And then honestly, the even greater thing that I was pushing up against when I ultimately made the decision to move on was just wanting to make a bigger impact. Wanting my impact in this world to be beyond those four walls, whatever those four walls were, because it wasn't about any organization. It was just about wanting to make sure that I could help anybody who needed my help, the people who, I was feeling this calling to serve. So those were, I guess, the values that were giving me the clues that it was time to move on.
Yeah. Love that word, clues. And that's so much of life where we see these clues, we get these breadcrumbs where I sometimes call them like puzzle pieces. You got this other piece of the puzzle, but then your picture looks different. It's like, well, that doesn't fit. So what do I need to shift and change? You talked about making this bigger impact. And that is something that's so powerful. And I'd have to say, like, not everybody desires that. That's what I have uncovered on this path. And those of us who really have that in us, like, we are here to make a big impact. We aren't content with just staying in this box of staying hidden. It takes a lot of courage to get out and be seen, especially when your whole career you've been under somebody else's umbrella. When you decide, okay, I am going to have my own umbrella and I get to decide what it's called and I get to decide what it means and how I help people with this work and what it's priced at and, all of it. There's a lot of decisions on that. Did you know right away, okay, this thing is called wayfinding? Had you been working with this kind of methodology? Did it help you figure out what you were doing? And you said, okay, I got to share this with more people. Was that how you knew the impact piece was clicking in?
So much of it for me was about, I could just see, like, I had the vision, right? Mm-hmm. I had the vision of, I'm supposed to be doing more. I'm supposed to be, on my own. And I didn't have full clarity, of exactly what that was going to look like. But for me, it was a leap of faith, truly a leap of faith, because I could feel, this nudging from God, from the universe, right? Whatever we want to call it. That just kept coming through so clearly. And it was almost this message of, trust me in this, right? Take this step and I will meet you there. So no, I didn't have all of this stuff figured out. The word wayfinding had been coming to me and was really like, wouldn't let go of me. So I had an inkling that the name of the business was going to be Wayfinding, but I didn't even know exactly what that meant. And, frankly, for the most part of probably the first year or two of my business, I really tried to treat wayfinding and my business and my practice as a sandbox. I tried to really just play and run a ton of experiments. Right. I don't know yet what I'm really going to want to do. Is it going to be one-on-one coaching? I don't know. Let's play with that. Is it going to be group coaching? Let's play with that. Is it going to be, more around, courses and things like that? Let's play with that. So I treated everything like an experiment. I just ran the experiment until there was, again, to use these scientific language that we've been using, until there felt like there was saturation. Right. I knew, at a certain period of time, like, oh, yes, one-on-one coaching, for an example, like that's really the thing, especially when it's done in this type of way. And so I just started locking the pieces in by doing it. I really tested my way forward on all of this.
Yeah, I want to double down on that. Test your way forward. I often will say, and because you and I work together, but you can theorize your way and come up with all these things you think are going to happen. But until you actually put something into practice and run those experiments, you won't know. And so you have got to test it. You've got to see. You don't need to get attached to anything. You don't need to say to yourself, well, that means I got to do this for the rest of my life. No, you just do it until you don't want to do it anymore. That's it. And then you can make that shift and change.
Yeah. And something that I always say, I have to remind myself of this, and then I certainly tell my coachees this all the time, is it's like when you approach it in that way, as it's an experiment, and I mean, the things that you're testing in your business, but also anything in your life, anything that you're doing, if you run it like an experiment, if you treat it like an experiment, in the design world, we talk about, we prototype to learn. Right? We run a prototype, not necessarily, expecting that it will be a success, but to look for the learning. Yeah. And so when you approach your life that way, right, as it's all an experiment, you don't have the weight of like, what if it fails? Right. Because there's no failure. It's either gonna work and you're gonna feel like, a winner, or you're gonna learn something and you're gonna feel like a winner, right? Because it's gonna allow you to evolve and try the next thing.
Yes. So I love that. Yes, 100%. We've got to embrace failure, whatever that is. I always say, you either win or you learn. You win or you learn, because losing is part of life. You have kids, I have kids, play sports. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to win every match. You're not going to win every project, everything that you pitch for. Okay. Losing is part of the game. And it's really about what you learn in that approach. You can learn through winning too, but I honestly think that the bigger learnings come when you lose, because it's not fun to lose. Okay, it hurts a bit. The ego gets, but if you are willing to look, okay, what did we learn here? What kind of shifts do we want to make? What is salvageable, if anything at all? Maybe the learning was, I don't want to do this at all. This is not, but that's really good information.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not one for like, toxic positivity and everything's got to be awesome all the time, right? Even if you lose, you got to feel those feelings. And it's ironic that we're having this conversation, because last night, both of my sons, I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, they both had soccer games. They both lost. And my youngest one played his game first. So I got the privilege of driving him fresh off of the loss to his brother's game. And he was mad. He was disappointed. He was sad. He was all of the things. And I didn't try to tell him, like, stop it. Now, he was kind of throwing a fit, and I needed to coach him on that, right? How do you handle these emotions that you're dealing with? But no, I actually told him, like, allow yourself to feel that. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling disappointment and anger and frustration when things don't go your way. But you got to figure out, like, why are you feeling that way? What's the learning in it, right? What do you want to do with that, like, information that's coming up and these big emotions? Because again, that's where the gold is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, why do you care so much? That's the thing. It's like, why do you care so much? Okay, so you lost, you're upset. Okay, what about that hurts? Did you feel like maybe you could have worked harder in this way, that you realized, like, I wasn't doing this thing that I was taught, but I forgot in the moment, or that maybe it was my sportsmanship wasn't where I wanted to, like, whatever it is, great. That's all wonderful information. And then you take it and you apply it for next time. And that's really, I mean, this business road is ripe with opportunities to learn, to fail, to make mistakes, to figure it out. Then when you have those wins and you have that thing, that project that just blows you away, it feels that much sweeter, because you know what you went through to get there. Yeah. It is a process. It is a journey. And I would love to touch now on, I think, what you were mentioning with your son in terms of the feelings and the disappointment. It ties to some of what we see with our people, your clients, my clients, and what you have seen and what you call this destination addiction. Like, oh, well, once I win the game, I'll be happy. Or once I win that client, I'll be happy. Or once my program gets off, then I'll be happy. So talk about that, what you've seen there, and how you coach your people through that addiction.
Yeah. So, first of all, wayfinding, right? I named it wayfinding because I feel like we're all trying to find our way. And I work with coaches or with leaders at all levels who are trying to figure this out in different contexts. And so a big important part of the conversation is, one, where are you? And two, where do you want to go? But I try to make it really clear, like we're not going to be super focused on this end destination. We're going to be more focused on who you're becoming along the way, right? It's going to be more about who you are, because what I find, and I see this over and over and over again, and man, I have the honor of being able to be a speaker, and I travel nationwide, and I deliver workshops for these senior level leaders coast to coast. And every time I talk about destination addiction, there's like just fevered head nodding in the room, because everybody gets it, because this is the place where we find ourselves saying, I'll be happy when I get that promotion, right? I'll be happy when I get that job. I'll be happy when I sell my business. I'll be happy when whatever the thing is that's just on the other side of the horizon. We're in the grind right now. We're miserable, but it's all going to be worth it. There's going to be a big payoff when we get to this destination. And I think most of us probably know from experience that when we tell ourselves that, and then we arrive at that place, it's like, that didn't feel the way I thought it was going to feel. Or the feeling didn't last as long as I thought it was going to last. And then what do? We tell ourselves, because it's the next thing. Right. So we're always just pointing to the next thing as our indicator of where the success is going to be, where the happiness is going to be, where the fulfillment, where the meaning, where the joy. And it's a trap. There's a quote by Dr. Robert Holden, who wrote the book Authentic Success, that I love so much in this regard. And he talks about, until you give up the idea that happiness is somewhere else, it will never be where you are. Yeah, let me say that again, because
take it in, y'all. It's good. It's you're calling people out.
And myself too.
And me too. I'm like, thank you.
Until you give up the idea that happiness is somewhere else, it will never be where you are. Like this is an inside out journey, this happiness.
Yes.
Meaning, fulfillment. You gotta find it within and then carry it with you, right? Because the journey is gonna be a journey. There are gonna be highs and there are gonna be lows, and you gotta choose, right, to experience the happiness, to experience the joy in every part of that.
Exactly. It's recognizing that those tough moments come with the territory. If again, you're waiting until there's no tough moment, until everyone's good, you'll never get there. You will never get there. You spend your whole life thinking that it's going to come tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And you just fell for it. Like you fell into the hole. You never got out of the hole. And this is an opportunity to remind yourself that it's the journey that you want to find the joy in. It is the journey, even the annoying crap. It's like, oh gosh, because you know why? You get to do it. You are to do it.
I mean, so I have this whole workshop, this whole program called Design Your Life, and maybe we'll get into that. But throughout this workshop, I offer them a ton of reframes, because I think that's the real power in designing your life, or just kind of finding this meaning, fulfillment, joy that I think all of us are looking for, is to look at our situation and to choose to frame it in a way that will serve us. But the simplest one, the one that I always use as my first example, is the one that you just said, right? When we get caught up saying, I have to fill in the blank, right? I have to go to the gym. Do you? Right? Is that the way that you want to look at it? Because true story, I've got a friend right now whose son was just diagnosed with leukemia. He's 18 years old. He's an athlete. He would love nothing more today than to go to the gym. Right? And you're telling yourself, I have to go to the gym. No, you get to go to the gym, right? You get to have this body that is so healthy that it can work out. You get to take care of your body, right? You get to do these things. And so in any situation, when somebody finds themselves saying, I have to do this report today, I have to fill in the blank, whatever it is, it's like, making that intentional reframe. No, you get to choosing to see it in that light and the energy that comes with it, right? Because you think about the energy that you bring into the gym when you say I get to, it's going to be a completely different workout. It's going to feel different and your results are going to be different.
There you go. Yeah, the energy you bring in will impact the results that you experience. It's so true. And thank you for sharing about your friend's son. And that's so very sad. Heart goes out, healing vibes on the journey. My son also has a friend who is probably 13, 14, who's also undergoing treatment for cancer at this time. And it's so hard. And my son gets, and I'm so happy, like talk about your son, which is really upset after the loss of the game. Like my son will all of a sudden gets like really upset and he just allows himself to cry. And I encourage that. I'm like, you're crying because you care so much. You care so much. That shows what a great friend you are and how much you care about your friend. And you are, sending him all of these positive energy and support as he goes on like the journey of a warrior. You've got to be a warrior to battle cancer. And so anyone out there who's been through it, you have somebody in your life going through it or some other horrible disease. This cancer pisses me off so much, having been touched by it in my life as well. But that whole idea, you get to do this. And here's the other thing. You chose this. You chose this. And if you don't like what's happening, choose something different.
Yeah.
Choose something different. Don't sit around and complain about this, and this. Choose something different. Like whatever, if something is really bothering you and you can change it, change it. Choose differently because you get one life. It can be over in a freaking blink of an eye. You never know what's going to be around the corner. And so you might as well enjoy yourself. You might as well choose well.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, one more story just on the kids front. I remember when my oldest turned 1. And I was putting together the birthday party stuff. And it's tough. Like having little kids, like that is hard. The baby jail phase. That's what I used to call it. And so we were in the baby jail phase and it was tough. And truth be told, I just found out I was pregnant with my second. And so I was just feeling like very overwhelmed putting together all this birthday stuff. But putting the pictures together, it just became so abundantly clear how fast it was going. And so the truth that came through for me was, Darci, this thing is going to go fast no matter how you choose to enjoy it. So you may as well choose to enjoy it. Right? Because that's a choice that you're making right now, Darci, feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, all of these things. Like you can choose to put that down.
Yes.
Right? It's not serving you, and choose to enjoy the chaos, the circus.
Exactly. It's like, okay, well, what am I stressed about? A 1-year-old birthday party. Okay. So I can choose to be stressed about that, or I can keep it in perspective. I get to do this. I get to figure out the balloons and the cake and the blah, blah. And maybe I need some help with this. Okay. Who can I ask to help me with this? So it's all about that choice, and that this life goes quickly. It does feel like, and especially in hard moments, that it kind of takes forever. You're like, what? This doesn't feel quick, but it is fast. You think about where you are, how old you are, and you look at like, oh my gosh, my 20s, it didn't seem like that long ago, but it really was a long time ago. But it was the blink of an eye of here's where I am. I want to talk about retreats now, because this is something that you're all about. I'm all about. How did you find your way into leading retreats and just being so in love with these retreats and making this a big part of your business and how you serve people?
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is, so when the light bulb went off for me about wanting to become a coach, I, like many other high achievers, right, I went all in. I can remember to this day, like the light bulb had gone off for me earlier in the day. And that night I was looking up coaching certifications. And I found one, the Hudson Institute, based in Santa Barbara, and their coaching certification program, it started, step 1 of the certification process was to go on a retreat. So they had a retreat that they developed that anybody could go to. So you had a mix of people there. You had the folks like me who came there as step one of coaching certification. Then you had other folks who came in just because they wanted to, kind of fix something, address something in their life. And, I don't know, perhaps like many of the kind of monumental moments in my life, it ended up happening quite by accident because I came in expecting one thing, right? I was there to check the box, to do the thing, to start on the training. And man, that retreat changed my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In what way?
So in this season, right, I'm in grind mode, right? Go, 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 go. I had been up to this point kind of climbing that corporate ladder. I had my next, piece of destination addiction in front of me, right? Go get the certification.
It's my certification.
Check, 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 check. And I showed up at this retreat, and first of all, it was a change of venue, a change of landscape. I had to jump on an airplane to go there, right? I had to get out of my routine just to show up there. And then all of a sudden I had this beautiful container of space to just stop for a second, catch my breath, really look at where am I in this life? Where am I? And where am I trying to go without all of the busyness of my day to day, without all of the noise of my normal day to day? Again, I had these two littles at that point. And so this was my chance to kind of just step away from that and just kind of tend to me for a second. And doing that just illuminated so many things in my life. It illuminated so many things about who I am, the purpose I wanted to serve, right? The person I wanted to become. It illuminated how far away I'd gotten from, the things that I had wanted, to be very vulnerable. My husband and I, we were both high achievers, and we were going, and we were kind of going in different directions. And so it was a moment for me to realize, hold on, we're kind of going these separate paths. We gotta look at this and really kind of go on a crusade for each other, which is exactly what we did. I came back and we kind of, did this whole crusade to date again, to get to know each other again on the other side of, having kids. And so, man, it just, that was the aha for me. Man, if this can be this powerful for me, it can be this powerful for anybody. And I want to offer that gift to other people, right? I want to create experiences that allows them to come out of their day to day, that allows them to kind of look at themselves, catch their breath, evaluate where they're headed. And is that where they want to go? And if not, let's put together a path. Let's put together, a roadmap, some to-dos for you to be more intentional. So that's why I got into it. And that's why I love it so much.
Oh my gosh. And I love that you said the crusade for each other with your husband. That's what happens when you get out of your freaking house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just get out of your house, but go to a intentionally designed space. Because that is so important if you're attending a retreat, is to really know who is leading this retreat. How is it being facilitated? How is it being designed? What kind of nature is it in? Are you in session from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. or is there space in between for personal exploration? All of it. And when you get yourself in that right spot for this very moment in time where you find yourself, incredible things can happen. As you mentioned, that your life changed as a result, and you got the download. I want to offer this. I want to be someone who creates this opportunity for others, because you know how it impacted you, not just from a work perspective, but in your marriage, in your home, as a human, and in all the other things. Yeah. So way to go. And I want to give you an opportunity. We still have more to talk about, but you've got some retreats coming up, at least one coming up this year. And so what is the one that you've got coming up that you want to tell our crew about?
Yeah. So, again, now I offer these retreats in a lot of different places, spaces. I've got one next week that's for a corporate leadership team, right? They're trying to kind of reconnect and do some mindset shifts. So I do this work within corporations, but then I also do for personal development, which is a special sort of magic.
Yes.
because I just put out there, hey, I'm hosting this retreat, and the one that's coming up, that are 2 spaces available, by the way, is November 3rd in Hocking Hills. And so I just put this invitation out there, trusting that, again, the universe, God, whatever we want to call it, is going to bring the right people in. And so there's always a little bit of magic in the fact that people generally don't know one another. And, I do a little bit of curation of the community, just making sure that the right people, I talk to people before they, are officially signed up, making sure that people are bringing in the right intentions, they're bringing in the right energy, all of that. But so much of it is just the magic of the universe to bring in people who just happen to have gone through the same things that somebody else is experiencing, or can help them see it from a different perspective. And so it's about community, it's about connection, it's about coaching. I have always a very carefully designed itinerary that I walk people through that does balance, like you're saying, some outdoors time. Right, connection in nature. We move our bodies and we connect as a community, all for the purposes of taking us on the journey that we need to go on.
Exactly. And when we say Hocking Hills, that's Hocking Hills, Ohio, because you are in Ohio and you found this incredible venue that just holds you so well. Where can people find out more about that retreat?
Yeah, so you can go to my website is wayfinding.coach. So literally just that, wayfinding.coach. And if you go to wayfinding.coach/theultimate, then you'll find all of those details about the retreat, because I'm calling it the ultimate retreat, because we're actually doing like coaching before, community building before. So it's really a 6-month journey, the ultimate journey.
Yes. Yeah. And so wise, so spot on with that. And a lot of what you do leading up and then go deeper into the retreat is this design your life philosophy and methodology. And so let's talk about what design your life means.
Yeah. I mean, it means a lot of different things to a lot of people. For me, it's like, I think it's a lot of, frankly, my purpose in this world. A little bit of context is that my childhood growing up was tough for me. I didn't have the best of examples, models. I didn't have a roadmap of, really how to live effectively, live well, and, these things. So much of what I've learned in this life, I've learned the hard way. And so design your life to me is a little bit about giving other people the tools that I've picked up in my own journey of designing my life and redesigning my life to get to where I am. There's a lot of framework that's based in design thinking. So I've worked with designers, creatives my whole career, and I've always just been fascinated at the way that they work and the way that they look at problems. And so I've pulled in a lot of those tools into what I have developed with my Design Your Life tools. And so I take people in retreats through that, or in workshops through that, or I do coaching on that.
Yeah. And well done. And thank you for sharing that. And just in terms of, it's so fascinating how our childhood does influence, obviously, our whole life. And we can choose to use it as a catalyst for our greatest work. And I feel like that's what you're doing, is that you took something very, very hard and you turned it into fuel so that you could design your own life and make changes for how the rest of it gets to go and how it gets to go for your kids as well. And then for your people, for your clients, where many people are on autopilot. They're just like, well, this is what I saw, so this is how it is. And no, that's not how it is. It doesn't have to be like that. If something doesn't resonate, if something doesn't feel right, there's typically a reason why. And it's because your body's saying, hey, this can be different. And so we want to tune into those clues and tune into these messages that you're receiving around how it gets to be for you, how it gets to go. And that's not easy when you need to make some massive shifts from, again, how you were raised It might mean ending certain relationships or pressing pause or having more space because you realize this is not an environment where you can thrive. These messages need to be shifted and changed and rearranged, and you need to get yourself into some new places. Especially retreats are fabulous for that because you just around nature and you're around an incredible coach and guide and you're around these amazing people who are also working on stuff and reminding you what is possible. That's it. It's like, that's so what your work is dedicated to. I think that's why you and I hit it off so well, is because we're really dedicated to what else is possible.
Yeah. Man, the questions that you just shared there, in this Design Your Life programming that I've put together, it's the framing is design thinking, which is a creative problem solving approach. But what we're weaving in is these questions that you're hinting at, these questions like, what do you want? Right? Why? Right? Is that what you really, really want? These beliefs that you have, or these stories that you're telling yourself, how is that serving you? These are questions that, on the surface might seem simple, straightforward, but they are some of the most complicated and challenging questions that we will ever face. And so we've got to sit with those and really bring genuine curiosity to those, letting go of some of the shoulds maybe that are, wrapped up in that, what do you want, right? You've got somebody else in your ear saying, well, you should want this or whatever it is. And so letting that go, this is hard work. I always tell people, I'm like, it's hard work, but it will be worth it.
Yes, it's worth it. It's a lot of times we're changing a habit. We're changing a belief. You are changing. We're so committed to something. We're kind of this pattern, and we're embedded into this pattern, and we just keep defaulting into it because it's comfortable, even though you don't like it. It's like, but it's really comfortable. And before we wrap today, there's something that you and I do have in common, other than things we've touched on already, but something that I feel is important to bring to life right now, especially that I'm about to celebrate 10 years of sobriety very, very soon. And this is something that you are in right now as well. I think you and I went in kind of our ways that we went in, and you have a kind of a thought process that helped you navigate this road, and just your thoughts around alcohol in general. I wanted to, because this to me is one of the greatest examples of how you look at something and go, wait a second, I know kind of everyone does this, and it's what you do when you celebrate, or it's what you do when you're sad, and it's what you do when you're together, and it's what you do when you're at a game or at a concert, but does this work for me right now? So let's touch on this.
Yeah. So, for me, I didn't drink in high school or anything like that. I started drinking in college, and it was very much a social thing. I like to be the life of the party. And so having a couple of drinks, that always kind of allowed me to be who I really wanted to be. And that was all fine and well. I don't know that I had a problem, although I would say I was probably like a gray area drinker, right? Where it was like, I wasn't waking up needing it, but like if I started, I had a harder time than maybe others, like stopping. And either way, I got to a place, this was again, for all of the hardships that came of the pandemic, it ended up being a blessing for me in a lot of ways, this being one of them, because in the height of the pandemic, like everybody, my anxiety was at an all-time high. And I was drinking probably more than I should have been. Again, nothing egregious, but it got to a point of, I was asking myself, if my anxiety is high, and there's a lot of things right now that I cannot control that are going to make me feel stressed, but this is one that I can control. Well, let's ask ourselves the question, how is this serving me? And so that question just kind of kept coming back to me. And eventually I was like, Darci, run the experiment, right? If the question keeps coming back to you, how is this serving you? You don't have to over analyze this. You don't have to make a decision forever. You don't have to cut this out completely and, decide what that means for you. Just run the experiment. And so I decided to take like just 30 days and cut it out and just see what happens. And I'm big on always balancing facts and feelings, right? Balancing the data with the emotion. So, obviously running this experiment, I wanted to evaluate how did that make me feel by removing it, but I was also tracking the data. So I wear my Apple Watch to bed. And so it tracks like my sleep and all of this. And I had been curious about this concept for a while. So I'd been tracking my data even before I completely cut out alcohol. And I came to learn that any amount of alcohol, one drink, and my deep sleep on an 8-hour night, my deep sleep would be about 2 hours. And if I had, or no, without any alcohol, it would be 2 hours. If I had even one drink, it would be nothing.
Oh, wow.
Literally nothing would be my deep sleep. And so when I cut it out, I'm tracking the data. It went from 2 hours of deep sleep on an 8-hour night, because I'm always a good sleeper. I always go to bed early. It went from 2 hours on a good night to 5 or 6.
Whoa.
Hours of deep sleep on a good night. And so I had the data, but then I could also feel it, right?
Yeah.
My energy was so much higher. My brain was so much clearer. My connection with people was so much stronger, which is especially important, especially, in this coaching world that we're in, to be connected.
Yes.
And so the ceiling just lifted. And, for me, I'm enough of a rebel. You heard that in my HR story, that it wouldn't serve me well to say that I'll never drink again.
Right.
So I just say for now. For now, it feels too good, right? Things are going too well. For now, I'm not going to do that. But it's been, I'll be at 5 years this summer. So it's been 5 years of for now.
For now. Exactly. And that's one of the lines that you use. You use that phrase for a lot of things. For now, because that's such a great, it's like a trick. It's a positive trick to yourself, to the rebels of the world. It's like, oh, really? But hold on. No, because I can if I want to, and you can't tell what to do, even if it's you saying it. For now, congratulations on that. And what great data to back that up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to fight with that. Hard to fight with that.
I like to say there's freedom in for now. Right?
So freedom in for now. That's a quotable right there. There's freedom in for now. Well, congratulations on that. That's huge. I too sleep a lot better now. I've always been a good sleeper, but I didn't sleep so well when I was drinking and certainly hungover. You're so out of it. And I am very grateful to be on that road as well. Similar stories there, but it's fascinating how when you are willing to look at something and just run the experiment. So much of this conversation today has been about running an experiment. I've run the experiment this way. I have the information. Let me see what happens when I run it with a different approach. And then we'll see. You can always make those different decisions. Amazing, Darci. Thank you so much for coming on today and having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me. This has been a total joy. An honor.
It sure has. And everyone go check out Darci. So it's wayfinding.coach, where they can find out all about you, your work, your upcoming retreats. You will have more amazing things in the works because that's who you are. You are a creative, you're an innovator, and you have a heart for service. I mean, you don't get into coaching if you don't have a heart for service. The best coaches anyway. We do this because we can't not do this. You have something inside of you that can activate deep transformation for a group of people who desire it. And so, Darci, keep doing what you're doing. Keep bringing this wayfinding message out into the world. It is a deep honor and privilege and pleasure to be on this wayfinding road right alongside with you. And everyone, thank you very much for being a part of this conversation today. This is Jenny Fenning for Coach Magic, and I look forward to connecting with you again.